For this list, we're looking at some of the best horror movies that you'll be surprised to hear are rated PG or PG-13, despite scenes containing violence and gore.
Look, Mike, come on. Cocoons, popcorn guns, monster shadows. Ooh, I mean, what do you think we are?
Yeah, we're not as stupid as we look.
Number 10, Jaws.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
One of the most infamous horror movies of all time, this legendary early work from filmmaker extraordinaire Steven Spielberg is surprisingly low on blood and gore, considering the story centers on a killer shark. That's largely because Spielberg plays it coy when it comes to the shark itself and the aftermath of its attacks, letting our minds fill in the blanks with horrors more frightening than anything the film could actually depict. Of course, there's still the odd severed leg to remind us of the brutal nature of the shark and its appetites, so we can't call the film entirely bloodless. Number 9, Mamá. This spooky tale focuses on two young girls who spent an extended period of time alone in the woods following the death of their parents. But after being found and taken in by their uncle and his girlfriend, it slowly becomes clear that the girls weren't as alone as it seemed, and an entity they call Mamá has latched onto them. Much like our last entry, the film lets the audience do a lot of the work for themselves, often generating scares from some wonderfully spooky sound design. The sound of Mamá alone is enough to give us the heebie-jeebies, and that's a rare thing in horror films. Number 8, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This 1988 horror movie sees a group of aliens who, by astonishing cosmic coincidence, look and act exactly like circus clowns. They proceed to invade a small town to cause mayhem and turn the townsfolk into delicious cotton candy. But surprisingly enough, the film only holds a PG-13 rating despite decapitations, acid pies, and even one poor cop being turned into a human ventriloquist dummy.
Don't worry, Dave. All we want to do is kill you.
There are also one or two scantily clad ladies to be found in between the brightly colored carnage, but nothing so explicit to warrant a full R rating. Number 7, Ouija, Origin of Evil.
She is channeling powers and forces we do not understand.
A movie based on a board game already has to fight pretty hard to be scary, but doubly so when it's trying to scare viewers without resorting to extreme violence. This horror movie prequel pulls it off, however, managing to deliver on scares while keeping things relatively low in the gore department. Of course, there are still deaths aplenty, and genuinely disturbing demonic possession, but for the most part the film doesn't go overboard with the gore, sticking to good, old-fashioned scares that hit their mark more often than not. Maybe there's hope for board game movies after all.
I'm a vessel. I can help you.
She's a better vessel.
Number 6, Fire in the Sky.
Forgive us, Father, for what we've done.
Alien abductions are usually the stuff of sci-fi rather than horror, but this 1993 genre-mixing film takes the concept of abduction to some genuinely horrifying places. After vanishing for 5 days, an Arizona logger mysteriously reappears with no memory of what happened. However, the memories of his horrible ordeal slowly start coming to the surface. And trust us when we say that these memories were best left forgotten.
Mr. Welton, thank you. Mr. Welton, did you make contact with alien?
The abduction flashbacks are not for the faint of heart, especially if, like us, you aren't a big fan of eyeball violence. How this one manages to escape an R rating is beyond us, but we're squirming in our seats either way. Number 5, Drag Me to Hell. You don't get a title like this movie without some serious horror chops, and Sam Raimi's 2009 Splatterfest has chops to spare, to say nothing of splats, pops, and crunches. After evicting an old woman from her home, a bank employee finds herself horribly cursed, and bizarre and gooey incidents soon follow. As can be expected from the director of the Evil Dead series, this film is rife with popping eyeballs, bursting bodily fluids, and even a talking demonic goat, but somehow dodges an R rating. R rating or not, maybe try to avoid eating while you're watching this one. You have been warned.
I don't want your cat, you dirty pork queen!
Number 4, Insidious. This tale of a normal suburban family who find themselves terrorized by a creepy demonic entity is surprisingly light on blood and guts, instead relying on jump scares and atmosphere to keep the audience on edge. Even though he's rocking some seriously dangerous looking claws, the demon that menaces the Lambert family doesn't do a whole lot of slashing. He actually appears to prefer popping out when you least expect it. He keeps those claws sharp though, and we'd hate to see what he can do when he gets his demonic hands on somebody. You think he's related to Freddy Krueger?
I can still hear that voice.
Number 3, The Grudge.
I think I saw something in that house.
This remake of the Japanese film Ju-on tells the story of an American family that moves into a house in Japan, only to discover that it's also home to some seriously scary entities that aren't too happy about sharing their abode. This is another movie that manages to do a lot with the power of sound, and the horrible noises made by the entities are guaranteed to get under our skin every time we hear them, to say nothing of the creepy way they crawl around on all fours and the vacant looks on their ghostly white faces. Plus, let's be honest, sometimes kids are just plain creepy. Number 2, The Ring.
Samara, I need you to start telling me the truth, okay?
And speaking of creepy ghost children from American remakes of Japanese films, this 2002 horror sensation features a mysterious VHS tape that condemns anyone who watches it to a terrifying death 1 week later. The film, like the tape itself, is full of frightening images, from a horse meeting a grisly end at the blades of a boat propeller to the ghostly Samara emerging from a TV screen to claim her latest victim. But very rarely does the film go all out with gore or violence, keeping it firmly in the PG-13 category. Given the hours of sleep we lost after watching this one, we aren't complaining.
She never sleeps.
Number 1, The Sixth Sense.
I see dead people.
This 1999 horror film catapulted filmmaker M. Night Shyamalan to directorial superstardom, and a cast action hero Bruce Willis in a decidedly new light as a child psychiatrist caring for a young boy plagued with visions of ghosts. The ghosts that he sees aren't of the white sheet variety, but rather gruesome visions that still haunt us today.
Dinner is not ready. What are you gonna do? You can't hurt me anymore!
This is another entry that relies mostly on tension and atmosphere, two things that generally don't get a film an R rating. However, we're still surprised that some of the horrible sights this movie has to offer only warranted a PG-13 rating.
I'm feeling much better now.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo and subscribe for new videos every day.